I'm sorry, but today's hiring process is the worst. There's so many hoops that you have to jump through, so many barriers that you have to climb. And that's just to be able to talk to a real human being. And that's probably not face to face, that's probably still over the phone. But there's so many games that these employers are playing. And it's just insane because you can keep applying and applying and applying, and you hear nothing but crickets. You're gonna get ghosted left and right. Now, it just depends on what part of the process that you're going to get ghosted. Most people get ghosted just applying for a job in the first place, just getting basic rejection emails that you don't fit their criteria, that they've decided to go in another direction, that the position is closed, yada, yada, yada. Some people actually get an interview and then get ghosted. I mean, it doesn't really make you feel any better to just get one interview and not being able to talk to anyone further and not getting any actual feedback. And it doesn't really matter the company that you work at. It could be with a small company, it could be a big company like Microsoft. No one is really safe, and everyone should every single week be looking and applying for jobs, whether you have a job or you don't, because unfortunately, you just never know. But let's see what stories and testimonies we have to go over today. We start with Scott, who says, "This is the fourth stretch of unemployment I've had in my career. And I have to say, this is the actual worst. Not because of the job market, but because of how people hire. I prided myself on close relationships with great recruiters who have gotten me the gigs I've had up until now. Now, all that is out the window. Now, the recruiters that ping me, while great and nice, are in the same boat as everyone else. Just scour the web for any resume you can. Pray it's not some AI generated garbage. If you see over 100 applicants on the LinkedIn job listing, don't bother." And then, even if you find a recruiter, half of them seem to ghost you. One LinkedIn message, one cursory "I'll submit you" phone call, and then oftentimes tumbleweeds. I used to have to push back on over-communicative recruiters. Now, they just don't seem to care. Maybe it's because every corporation is salivating at the thought of not needing actual humans to do the work. For example, I've had my first video interview request, which sounded scammy enough for me to look it up. Having read what I've read, I'm going to pass. But not because it's a scam, but because this is not how you hire people for a great team. I don't know what the hell has happened since I was last on the job market, but the entirety of the recruiting and hiring process has gone to crap. It's terrible. This is not effective, companies. This is not the way. It's dehumanizing, it's impersonal, and it's ineffective. Scott is not taking any of this crap. He's had enough of this, and I can't blame him. So many amazing things are brought up here. So yes, people used to have good connections with recruiters. It doesn't necessarily have to be a temporary staffing, but it's like, all right, I have this job. Maybe it's not working out. Maybe I'm not getting promoted. It's time to go to the next level. Let me call up the recruiter that I did business with last time, and let's see what we can do. And normally, back 5-10 years ago, that could help you. That could help you get to the next level. I mean, I've even had that position where I've had someone place me for a job, like the last contract role that I had. They placed me for a job, everything was good. Now, I mean, I emailed the same person, didn't get any response, called the office, they didn't answer. Like, I don't know. It seems like all of these recruiters and like staffing companies have completely gone out of business because you're not hearing anything back. It used to be, yeah, they're trying to sell you on this position, sell you on this position. Now it's like they don't even have the positions. There's nobody to talk to. And one of the companies I work with is now, I don't know if they're scamming people straight up or they're at least allowing their name to be used to scam people. So it's just completely terrible. And even if a recruiter reaches out to you and they submit you, that doesn't necessarily mean anything. The last recruiter I had reach out to me said, "Oh, I'll submit you for this position." I'm like, "Oh, cool. Sounds pretty good." And then I gave it a couple of days, I think over the weekend. And then I reached out to them. "Hey, have you talked to your client yet?" "Oh, no, not yet." And then talked to them a little bit later in the day and they said, "Oh, I'm sorry. They're not going to bring you in for an interview." Then why are you wasting my time? Why are you getting my hopes up? And yes, I do believe that companies are salivating at the thought of not needing actual humans. I mean, yes, I'm sure there's a big investment up front for AI, but as much as they can use it to not have to hire actual human beings, they're going to do it. Because employers weren't able to get rid of enough jobs just by laying off people, getting them to a skeleton crew. No, they also had to offshore, not just outsource, but offshore as many jobs as possible to India, Philippines, etc. And then that's not even enough. That's not a low enough budget for your salary. Now they're going to use AI and stuff like that too. So really, I don't know. Is it just a bunch of C-level people? You have your CFO, your CEO, your COO, and that's it. That's the only people in America, and they're all going into the office. I guess. Oh wait, no, C-suite. They don't have to go in the office, even though the 10% of the workforce they basically have left has to. Like, hey, well, I mean, you don't have to come into the office, but I mean, people overseas are coming into the office every day. AI is showing up to work every single day, and we don't even have to give AI benefits. It's insane out here. And yeah, I don't know if you spent the time to really think it through, but that's a great point. Are you really going to get a good vibe for the person that you're going to be working with in person 8 hours a day at least, just through these other means? Yeah, it's a good way to weed it out, but like, aren't you going to like piss off that person? They're gonna be like, I mean, at some point you're like, yeah, I'll take the job, I need a job, but like, you completely beat me up, and even if it was a dream job, even if it was a company that you really respected, by the time you actually get a job offer, how could you respect that company anymore? Between filling out a Workday application and doing a terrible job parsing your resume and having to spend an hour fixing it and adding all the other things and giving your references to be called and having a one-way interview and taking a skills assessment on coding or leadership or whatever, and then also having to move pieces from left to right and match that up and do other SAT type questions and having one-way interviews where you just talk to yourself. You get a couple of shots to record your message for the employer, and then you finally maybe get to an internal recruiter and they ask you a whole bunch of questions like, didn't you already get all this information before? And then maybe you get to a hiring manager, but then you still have 3 or 4 levels. People are like gonna be tired of these companies and I didn't really want to work there at the end. And yes, like they're gonna have to take the job, but like, is this really the experience you want someone to have? And if they're treating you like this on the way in, just imagine how bad it's going to be when you're actually there. So I agree. Today's hiring process is absolutely dehumanizing, impersonal, and it's got to be ineffective. This can't be a way to hire a great candidate who's going to join a great team. It just can't be. Next, Alex says, well, it finally happened to me too. Had an interview set up with a well-known and respected company. Date and time was set more than a week in advance. Then I get an email saying my appointment was changed. Sure, no worries. I'll make it work and shuffle some things around to accommodate, because I really need employment. Interview day comes around. Scheduled time comes and goes. Crickets. No email, no phone call, simply nothing. I emailed the recruiter and asked if there was a better day and time that worked for them, as we had an appointment set twice now and still crickets. This is unacceptable to say the least. It is hard enough in this job market to even get an interview, but then to be ghosted? Highly disheartening. And people like Alex are bending over backwards. They're giving employers chance after chance. They're giving them the benefit of the doubt, and this is how they're being treated. I mean, we hear stories all the time of the first interview having to be on Teams, and you have to have your camera on, but they don't have their camera on. Or they're eating, or being rude and disruptive during the interview. Or they're late, or sometimes they don't show up at all. And then they don't call you, they don't email, no sorries, no apology, no nothing. You have to follow up with them. Can you imagine if you did any of these things in a job interview? You would immediately be told, hey, there's a door. Don't let it hit you on the way out. To be disrespectful to the other person, to not value the other person's time, to just be strictly unprofessional. And people are not just getting ghosted in the application process, they're getting ghosted in the interview process. I mean, how do you have something scheduled for over a week that gives you time to work your calendar around, make things work, make sure you don't have an interview at that time, get all the people you need to be there, and then nobody shows up? I mean, that sounds unbelievable. That sounds made up. And that is how far we've fallen on the job application process these days. And unfortunately, the sad reality is it's not a matter of if these kind of things will happen to you. It's a matter of when and how often. Next, we have a screenshot from Instagram that one of my buddies sent to me, and I'm sure it's parody. And I'm not saying that this is advice that you have to take, but I don't think it's advice that you should ignore, whether it's tongue-in-cheek or not. And it says, lie on your resume, lie in your interview. Google how to do your job if you get hired. Your boss doesn't know what they're doing either. Lie. Have your friend pretend to be your old boss and give you a good referral. Fly on LinkedIn. And we've created and curated an amazing community here on Labor Gains. I'm so grateful for all of you guys who tune in each and every week to this channel, liking, subscribing, commenting. I really do appreciate it. But obviously, as a channel grows, you're going to get some people who say some nasty things. But that's okay because it's just part of the growth thing. So people will say, I won't hire you either, Labor Gains. I would never bring you onto my team. Fine. Well, maybe you haven't been through what I've been through. And if you're saying things like that, you probably are a hiring manager and have had your comfy Nerf life all set up for the past 10 to 20 years, while myself and many of you guys have been out here struggling, trying to make things work, trying to just get a freaking interview with a human being. So you don't know what we've been through. You haven't walked a mile in our shoes. And do I come off as bitter? Sure. Am I upset about this hiring process? Absolutely. Because it's not just me. It was me. I'm like, all right, I'm an idiot. I'm a loser. I can't figure things out. I can live with that. But all of you guys are telling me. I'm going through LinkedIn and everyone's telling me. So it's not just me, myself, and I. It's all of us. It's so many people, and nobody on the media is talking about that. Nobody is caring. Nobody's helping us out. No one's throwing us a bone. And I'm sure this is probably not real. I don't even know what this account is. Obviously, it's a playoff Kendrick Lamar, but wouldn't all these things help? Because maybe you should lie on your resume because these employers are lying on the job application. They say, oh, don't use ChatGPT. We'll know, whatever. It's like, well, you're using an ATS system and all kinds of other AI tools to weed us out so we can't get past. Lying your interview. I mean, you don't think, if you're one of the rare people who have gotten an interview, you don't think they're lying to you? Right? They've lied to you about the salary. They certainly have lied to you about how much they have budgeted that they could pay you. They're lying about the role, the responsibilities, right? There's always that asterisk, that caveat of like, well, other roles as assigned. Do you really think your boss is a master of all? You think you think he or she knows every single thing that there is to know? Do you think they know everything that they're going to want you to do? I don't think so, right? Because you keep getting promoted until you can't get promoted anymore. So maybe they know some of what you know, but especially if it's like in technology or other things where things change on a regular basis each and every year, there's going to be things that they do that's outdated, that doesn't make any sense. And that's why they need you to join their team. And if they're asking for referrals, like this last place asked for 2 of my referrals who are supposed to be supervisors. Kendrick Lobster says that just have those supervisor referrals just be from your friends who can put in a good word for you. I mean, are you really reaching out to previous supervisors to have them be contacted by your new place that you're looking to get a job? Because that's not even necessarily going to get you anywhere. And just because they call the referrals doesn't mean that they're even going to have an interview with a person. Nowadays, some companies are asking for referrals before you even have your first interview with the hiring manager. It's absolutely insane. Lie on LinkedIn. I mean, you look at other people's LinkedIn, right? They say go to an interview prepared. Figure out what kind of connections you can have. What is your hiring manager actually doing? Almost every single time I've looked at a hiring manager's LinkedIn before an interview, there's like nothing there. There's no metrics of what they've done. There's no projects that they've worked on. It's like they've been, like I said, stuck in this cushy Nerf life for so long. They're like, I worked at the company. I'm a vice president. I'm a director. Who the hell cares? I'm going to be here until I choose not to be here. And maybe that's the truth, but that's not the truth for everybody. And that's not the truth for the person applying for the job on your team. So you can't even really make a connection because they don't even have anything on LinkedIn. So I don't know if they're lying on LinkedIn, but they're sure not providing enough information for you to know about the job, know about the person you're interviewing with. I mean, the only thing you can really find out is maybe what their official title is and what they look like. Really, the picture of what they look like is the only thing you can do to prepare and make any sort of connection and do any sort of homework on the person you're going to be interviewing with. So I'm not saying you have to lie on your resume and your LinkedIn and the interview process. All I'm saying is the people on the other side of the table are. Do with that what you will. Next, ISIS says, honestly, the saddest part of being laid off after 15 years at Microsoft, to me, is what it says about the company I used to work for. It feels like a different company now, or perhaps more accurately, it feels like it stopped being a different company. The company I proselytized to my friends as being so different from the other tech megacorps is gone. In its place is one that is indistinguishable from any other, one where your job is at risk if you haven't turned in a flawless finish in the last couple of months. I suppose it's true what they say. Don't love your job, it'll never love you back. But at least the people I work with were worth it. Thanks to the opportunities and the camaraderie. And maybe I'll see some of you again sometime. And that's a sad post to be able to read. And apparently, I'll never get a job at Microsoft because I don't use words like proselytized, but that's completely fair. But it's good to see someone not just kissing butt and just being like, thank you so much for the wonderful opportunity. I've loved every moment of it. And I'm just sad to not be working with such amazing bosses and kiss, 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 but. However, still doesn't make it any better. Hopefully this person has a good amount of savings. I mean, 15 years at Microsoft. Hopefully they've made a lot of good decisions in their personal and their financial life, but we shall see. It's not just a matter of you're kind of screwed if you work at a startup or a small company. I mean, you could be working at a company like Microsoft and they kick you to the curb even after 15 years of service and they could care less. And people are going through problems of multiple stretches of unemployment over the years, and they're saying that this is the worst. All the hoops that you have to jump through and all the dehumanizing things that they make you go through just to even talk to a real live human. And if you do happen to get an interview scheduled, that doesn't even mean anything because they might not even show up. But let me know what you think of these stories down in the comments below. Talk to you later.